people that help us. People will ask me, you have 7 degrees, you have 5 kids, you do all these things. Like, how do you do all this? I would not be able to get all that done if I didn't have people on my team that help me along the way, and neither will you. So think about who can help you achieve that objective. We heard earlier during the luncheon, ask for help. Right? I would encourage you to ask for help early and often. When I graduated undergrad, I was an engineer. I went to work for the Department of the Navy as a civil servant. I then went to work for Boeing after that. And I was really excited, and they hired me as a manager. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. That doesn't happen all the time. Really ready to go. And I never wanted to ask for help because I was afraid that that made me look weak, right? People feel like if you're asking for help, or if I'm going to ask for help, that makes me vulnerable, and it means that I'm not doing my job if I have to ask someone else for help. That's the wrong way to think. If you think that way, you can't do everything by yourself, and there are other people that either know people, have experience and expertise that can help you with whatever it is you're looking to do. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for that help early. As was mentioned, use your student status. How many of you are on LinkedIn? And I'm going to talk about LinkedIn more, but how many of you are on there? Good. How many of you are active on there? You got to get active. And I'm going to talk more about that in the branding. But use LinkedIn as an example. Reach out to people. People love to help other people if they think that you want their help. Right? People reach out to me all the time. Hey, I'm such and such. That's how I learned about the MBV program. There was a person that was in a cohort a couple years ago that reached out and said, hey, I'm transitioning out of the Navy in 18 months. Would you talk to me? And so we had a conversation, and so people love to help other people. So use that to your advantage. Leverage their expertise, their network, etc., to really further along where you want to go. Know your field position. So where are you relative to your goal? Right? Do you have a resume that's pretty updated, right, or not? Do you have a strong network? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you active on LinkedIn? Where are you relative to your goal? And you got to figure out your plan based upon where you're at. I'll give you an example. If you're already talking to people about a job when you're done with school and you think it's a pretty done deal, well, then you're probably on the 20-yard line in the red zone, ready to score. But if you're not, and you're just starting in, like, I have no clue where I'm going, then you're probably on your side of the ball or of the field, and you've got a long ways to get into the end zone. So you got to figure out what is your plan, right? So it's going to depend on your set of circumstances and where you're at to determine what that playbook is going to look like. But spend some time figuring out where am I at and how much farther do I need to go to get to where I want to go, and put that plan together. This last part, drop the dead weight. So chapter 4 of my book talks about this dead weight concept. And what this means is there are people, as we're out there on that football field, there are people in your lives that are going to help you, and there are people that are not going to help you, either intentionally or they're just floating along doing nothing, or they're going to be negative and toxic and discourage you from where you want to go. So I want you to evaluate who is out there with me and who is going to help me move the ball forward and who is going to not help me. And those people that are not going to help you, I want you to think about why are they out there with you. And you either do one of two things. You say, okay, well, they're my friends and I really like them. Sometimes they kind of discourage me, but I really like my friends, so I'm going to keep them, but I'm not going to listen to what they say. So I'm pushing them to the sideline because I'm committed to where I want to go, and I'm going to get there with or without them. But there's other people that are very toxic or negative or detrimental, and so you really got to get rid of them. If they're not doing any good for you, and you're okay letting go of that relationship, then I would encourage you, don't just hang on to people just to hang on to them, just get rid of them. So think about who should I drop from my roster as if I'm in fantasy football. How many of you play fantasy football? I do not, because it's very time consuming. But you think about, who do I want on my team? Who do I want to play that week? Who am I going to sit out? Who's injured? Whatever, right? So think about who do you have on your own field with you that's going to help you and who's not, and make those moves that are appropriate. And in the worksheet, there's also a section for the playbook. So think about writing down some things, some strategies, some actions that you can take towards those goals. Again, that worksheet is meant to be a tool for you to apply while you're still here in the program, because those 10 months are going to go by faster than you think they will. All right, next hashtag, elevate your hustle. This is about bringing that better version of yourself into each and every day. So here we are. We were in the tunnel, and now we are running out onto the football field, right? And so you need to think about, what am I bringing to the, how are you showing up every day to play this game, right? If you don't show up with the right attitude and mindset, your performance is going to be worse than if you had. So I want you to think about, as you wake up in the morning and you're doing your routine, what kind of mindset are you bringing? What kind of energy are you bringing? Are you going to elevate your hustle today or not? So it starts with that right mindset. There's a lot of stuff going on in our lives. There's a lot of negativity going on in our lives. There's a lot of things that we can't control that happens each and every day. But what you can control is how you respond to all of it. Right? You're always in control of that. Even if you're not intentionally controlling it, you still have control. You're just choosing not to control it. But that's always within your control. So we're going to, again, I said, these are not going to be things that are new or shattered. You need to delete that negative. I don't care what's going on. You need to find it and put it to the side. We all have stuff that happens in our lives that's not pleasant. 2 years ago, my dad passed away very unexpectedly. I was always working, work, all the time. My mom called. I lived in Michigan at the time. My mom was here in California. My mom called me, and I was like, oh, I'll call her back. I'm busy. I'm working. Right? And that was the phone call that she was trying to call me to tell me my dad had passed away. And so that still bothered me, because it's like I was too busy working. Right? So I should have answered the phone. But anyway, ever since that happened, it really got me thinking about the mindset. I've always been a positive person, but time is short, and you never know how many days you have. So again, cliche, right? But make every day count. How do you do that? It's by bringing that positive energy, that positive mindset, not letting these negative things that happen in our lives affect us. So I'll share with you. My dad passed away in November 2016. 4 months later, I was laid off from my job. I would get a big layoff, and it wasn't performance-based, and then it is what it is. And so I was working at G at the time, and I really wanted to stay in the company. So I started networking within the company, and my old boss was like, wow, I really love your tenacity and just your approach to this. I'm like, well, I can't do anything about the fact that I was laid off. It happened, right? So I could either spend time being pissed off or frustrated or playing the victim, or I'd say, all right, I gotta go. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do now, because every minute counts, right? So no matter what happens, take whatever time you need to process through those emotions, but just don't linger in that state of negativity, right? So always focus on that positive. So what was the positive for me out of that? It was a new opportunity for me to do something different, right? And so I switched businesses. I work in a different GE business now, great learning opportunities. So things happen. I believe things happen in our lives for reasons, even if we don't feel like it's a fun feeling or a pleasant emotion we're going through. It happens for a good reason. You just got to find that positive. So try to focus on those positives as much as you can. Gratitude. Anybody write a gratitude journal? Good. So when you put things in perspective, it's easier for you not to let those negative things really bother you. I'll give you an example. I bought a house a couple years ago in Chicago. Since November of last year, it's been one thing after another, just going wrong with it. It's an 18-year-old house. I bought a newer house, fairly new house, so I didn't have to deal with all these things. And then every month or something new. I'm not surprised anymore. And so my water heater went out, or was about to go out, like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, great. One more thing I gotta go spend money on and fix. And then I put it in perspective instead of just letting that ruin my day. 2 weeks before, a friend of mine who played in the NFL, his house burned down in Tampa. He lost everything. All his game day apparel and paraphernalia and everything, all gone. He's beyond devastated. So when I remembered that, my water heater situation wasn't really that big of a deal. So always remember that there are other people that have issues that are bigger than yours, and so don't sweat the small stuff. I know some of you have heard that phrase before, right? Don't sweat it. And also, when you lower your standard of gratitude, then it's very easy to appreciate what you have, but also when things don't go your way, because your standard of gratitude is so low, then it's okay. You just deal with it. When you change your words, I'm going to speed it up here. When you change your words, you change your mindset, so the way you think about things, instead of focusing on the negative, what am I missing? Maybe I need a new strategy. Instead of going, man, this works, this sucks. I tried this, and now what do I do? Instead of focusing on the outcomes that didn't go your way, reframe things, and that will help you figure out how you pivot, how you adjust, how you continue to move on. Again, it goes back to that ownership. When you have that ownership and you're fully committed, you're going to figure it out. You're going to have that confidence that no matter what happens, I'm going to keep moving forward and get to where I want to go. All right, next part. MAD Pride is an acronym that I use in the book that it stands for 8 different attributes that I say separate the great athletes from the good. And one of those is determined balance. And so let me ask you this question. How many of you take time just for you, to focus on you? Good. How many of you know that you should and you don't? Right? So I mentioned that life is short, and so take care of you first, because no one else is going to take care of you and your health. It's up to you. Right? You're the quarterback of you and your health, and you can't perform at your best level if you're not at your best. Right? It's kind of like when you've got a football player comes off the field after making a spectacular play, puts on an oxygen mask. What is he doing? He's taking care of himself so that he can go back out in the field and make another spectacular play. So if you're not taking time, I don't care what it is you do, if you want to meditate or go work out, just take that time to mentally decompress, focus on your health, because you also can't serve others if you're not taking care of yourself first. So that's part of this balance, is making sure that you are taking care of you, and then you can go off and do what you want to do for yourself, but also for your family and for the other people that are around you. So I mentioned I have 5 kids. I'm just going to share. There's some older pictures of them. My oldest is 23, my youngest is 2. So there's never a dull moment in my house. So some of you have families, some of you don't. That's going to come into play here, right? And how much time you have. Devoting to school, devoting to, if you have a job, devoting to your family. So I'm going to give you some tips in a couple slides here that can hopefully help you manage this balance a little bit better. So I promise this is not like my slideshow of pictures. Last one of me, I promise. But along with this elevate your hustle concept, there's something I want you to stop doing. So how many of you are on social media? I know everybody is on social media. No? Okay. You need to be on LinkedIn at least. Who's on Facebook or Instagram? Right? Most of us are on some type of social media account. When we wake up in the morning, how many of you immediately go to your phone and get on those social media things? Or your email, doesn't matter. Right? A lot of you get on that. And so what is that doing in certain circumstances? You're looking at what other people are doing. Right? You're allowing other people to consume your time, and I'll come back to that concept. But the other thing that you're doing is you are, whether you know it or not, you are comparing yourself to what you see on these other social channels. Right? So why do I share these pictures with you? All of these pictures are pictures that I've posted on my social media accounts over the years. Pretty much they're all with different people that are famous in their own industry. Football people, baseball, etc. And so people see these things and they say, wow, I love your life. It's so great. I wish I could be just like you. What they're not thinking about is I chose the pictures that I put on those social channels. Right? I didn't put the pictures of my 2-year-old screaming at the top of her lungs. I put pictures that are fun, right? Hey, look at me, I'm doing all these great things, living the dream, right? And I enjoy my life. But it's not always just 100% roses and hunky-dory, right? We all have things that we go through. We all have the struggles, but most people don't post the struggles on social media because they don't want people to see that. They want you to see all the fun stuff. Right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. When you're looking at other people and you're comparing where you're at to where they're at, that's not the full story. It's a filtered view, and not filtered in the terms they apply to filter on the pictures, right? It's a filtered view of what they want you to see. It's a small window of their entire life. So keep that in mind. So don't get discouraged when you see, oh, such and such just bought a new car, right? They just bought a Porsche. I wish I had the money to buy a Porsche. How do you know they're not in debt? Right? You don't know what their circumstances are. So don't allow that to drain your energy or to make you feel bad because you don't know the whole story. All right, moving along. So don't expect different results if your habits are the same, right? There's this adage that if you want to think the same outcomes, keep doing the same thing or some variation of that. You've got to change what you're doing in order to be able to achieve the outcomes that you aren't already getting, right? So you need to create habits that stick. So one way that you can do that is you can write those habits down and remind yourself on a daily basis why it is you need to do that habit. And that will increase your likelihood. If you keep it top of mind and you have an ownership towards the goal, you will continue to make those changes than if you just said, oh yeah, I need to do that, it's in the back of my head, and oh, yes, I will do it. Right? That lasts for a couple weeks, we get busy, we go back to our old ways. So make sure that you are thinking about what changes do I need to make? What am I willing to stop doing so that I can achieve the outcomes that I want? And replace that with things that I need to be doing, especially in these next 10 months. Right? We talked earlier at the luncheon about how do you balance all these things. Prioritization, focus on what's important. So what are you going to stop doing so that you can focus on this program and on positioning yourself towards that career that you want to have by the time you graduate. Next section. Dominate the day. Every day is a gift. Once you've gone through that day, you can't get it back, right? So what are you going to do every day to make sure that you're making progress here in the program and outside of that? We've already talked about the mindset part, right? Control your thoughts, and you control whether or not it's a great day. You may not be able to control the outcome, meaning the outcome may not be what you wanted at the end of the day, but you can control whether or not the day was a good day, because no matter what happens, if it's the beginning of the day, midday, or end of the day, that didn't go the way you want, you still have those remaining hours to still end the day on a positive note. But one thing that I want you to keep in mind is don't be stuck in the yesterdays. And there's all kinds of motivational quotes out there that talk about let it go, right? And something bad happens, just brush it off, who cares? And that's important. But there's something else I want you to think about here, which is stop being stuck in the accomplishments of yesterday. That's great. Celebrate the great things that you've done already. But how many of you know people that like relive things that they did in high school and they're so proud of those high school moments? And that's all they talk about, right? For me, high school was over 20 years ago. So, like, get over that, all right? Focus on where do I want to go now, no matter what great thing you've done in your past. Celebrate it, acknowledge it, but focus on what I got to do now and keep pushing yourself. Don't just relive those successes from before. All right, anybody know what this number represents?
Minutes.
It's not the minutes of the day. It's the minutes in a 365-day calendar year. This is the number of minutes in a day. And so I have this here because we all have the same number of minutes. Doesn't matter who you are, right? All of us have the same. So whether you make progress or not depends on how you spend those minutes. And I don't want you to think that, okay, I'm just going to be busy. I'm going to be busy from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, so I'm going to make more progress than the person sitting next to me. It's not about being busy. It's about being productive and purposeful with how you spend those minutes. Because you can do things, lots of things that aren't value added, and you're busy, right? So you're like, oh yeah, I'm consuming these minutes, I'm doing good things. But are those things the right things to be spending your time on? And so, for example, for those of you that are interested in the entrepreneurial route, when I decided to form my business and really focus on my speaking brand, I really appreciated the value of every minute, because every minute that you spend on one thing is a minute that's taken away from something else. So when you think about it in that way, it helps you kind of evaluate and prioritize, should I be spending time on this today or not? Because I'm not going to have that time to go do something else. So how many of you heard the term opportunity cost? You use it in business a lot, right? So it's an opportunity cost. If I'm spending time on this, I don't have time for that today. So just be mindful, how are you spending your minutes? Because that's, again, is going to drive whether or not you're successful relative to your goals, right? So how much time are you spending in the MBV program, and are you being productive with that time, as an example? Everyone has different study habits, different ways of learning. When I was in law school, people would ask me, well, what do you do to, because I didn't study as often or as much as other people. I have a photographic memory, so that's helpful. But I was very purposeful. I tried all kinds of different study guides and techniques my first year of law school, and I figured out what worked for me. So figure out in these first few months, what is the best way for you to process information, study, retain, do your homework, and then use what works for you so that you can be productive with that time. And then you have all this other time to go focus on whatever else is important to you. So in football term, not only football, but it's about managing the game clock, right? So in both, and I'm going to speed this up. In these are two fairly recent games. New England, Atlanta, Super Bowl a couple years ago. We all know what happened there, right? This is at halftime, 28-3. How many of you realistically thought New England was going to come back? Okay. Right? So, I mean, it's not impossible. We know it's not impossible because it happened. But if you didn't manage that game clock, that's fundamental. There are some other things that had to happen, but that's a fundamental part of being able to come back, is managing the time that you have in that game. Georgia, Alabama, national championship a couple years ago, right? Anybody think Alabama was going to come back? Good for you. Right? And so we know the final score, but it's about managing the time that you have. Here, you don't have a game, there's no 60 minutes, but you got 1,440 minutes every day. So how are you managing them? Are you being the quarterback of that time frame? Or are you just kind of letting that day happen to you and you flow and you go through? Or not? So I want you to think about, am I taking control of the time? Or am I just letting that time tick and I get what I can done at random or not? So I want you to be purposeful with how you spend that time. Right? So this is not my calendar, but it's representative. I've always got stuff every day. So how do you balance it? How many of you work currently full-time? A lot of you, right? So you all know what a busy calendar is like. And now you're adding this on to it, Fridays and Saturdays every other week. Every other week? Yeah. Right? So you got to fit that into this calendar. So how are you going to be able to manage all that and not feel like it's completely overwhelming? Because you can do this, 10 months. So here's a couple of things that can help you. Playing intentionally versus a game of randomness. When you are intentional with how you spend your day, how do you do that? By planning. So this is what I do. This is a habit that I do that works very well for me and for other people. The night before, you're going to think about, what do I need to get done the next day? What are the critical, no kidding things I need to do the next day? And that's what you're going to work on. Right? And then the next day after that, you do the same cycle. At the end of the day, you evaluate where you're at, you plan for the next day. And by doing that, you're going to build this habit of intentionality, and you're going to then be mindful of those minutes. And if something goes wrong, right, let's say a kid gets sick and you didn't get to do something, that's okay. Plan it into the next day, or you readjust and you reprioritize so that you can do that on day one, and you push something else out to day two. It's not the end of the world. But when you have this structure around your day, your chances of getting more done are going to be greater than if you're just playing at random. Another thing that is helpful is block time. Has anybody heard that concept before? Okay. So block time is you schedule a block of time, and lots of time throughout the day, throughout the week, to work on certain things, and that's what you're going to work on. You're going to turn your phone off or put it to the side, and you're not going to multitask. You're working on those specific things. And so it's planning your day versus just letting randomness come in, because if you leave your days to randomness, then your productivity actually goes a lot down than if you had planned the structure into your day. So play each day with intention. Strategically focusing on the right activities. That's the prioritization of what is important for today what can get done tomorrow or the next day. So a lot of you are working, right? So we all know that the 9 to 5 days are gone, right? In today's time, you're working all the time, you're sending emails at midnight, 6 a.m., whatever. So how do you balance that with being in a program like this? Well, you qualify who is going to take your time. When people love to throw stuff over the wall, right? Hey, I need you to do this. I need it right now. Hey, can you take a look at this? I need it tomorrow. Right? Do those things need to be done today or tomorrow? Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't need to be done at all. So it's qualifying those activities and making sure that you're working on them when you need to work on them. So how do you do that? You don't just say, I'm not working on your stuff. You ask them, when do you really need this done by? Can it wait till 2 days from now? Because I'm really busy with something else right now. And they may say yes or no or whatever, and then you talk through that. But you don't just let them immediately take up your time and then you're going to squeeze all this other work into that same day before you do your homework or whatever. So thinking through who is taking your time for that day and who is not. And that goes to the power of no. And Nakia mentioned this during the lunch too, is exercise that power of no in the workplace, because you don't want to be seen as that person that's not the team player, right? So how do you do this? Maybe there's a task that really isn't value added, or it's not the best way of doing something. Have that dialogue with your coworkers and say, hey, you know what? This is going to take a lot of time, and I really don't think this is going to really give us as much value. Instead, what if we did blah, blah, blah? And so you're not just trying to be a roadblock, but you're being a solution, right? You're figuring out a better way to do it that may free up some of their time as well as yours. So exercise the power of no where it makes sense. You can't just say no to everything and everybody. But if you try it, just try it for the next week or two, where it makes sense, and see if you see any differences by trying that in a respectful manner. All right, energy that energizes. This is the E in Mad Pride, and this is about walking into a space and bringing energy into that space that wasn't there, positive energy. When you look at great athletes, great leaders, what do? They know how to energize the people around them, right? And excite them and motivate them and get them wanting to do whatever it is that they've got to go out and do. And so I want to challenge you to bring that positive energy into every space, every class that you're in, bring that energy. And so this is an investment that you're making in yourself, right? You're going to be here every other weekend, 2 days a week, 3 days. It's the whole weekend, right? It's Sunday too. So, you're going to spend a lot of time with your colleagues here, your fellow cohort students. Bring that energy, keep people motivated, connect with people. Make sure when you leave every day that you've made the space a better space than anywhere. And that's not just here, it's wherever you go. Make sure you're bringing that energy that excites other people. You all should have a tiny card by you that you were given at the very beginning of this talk. You can flip it over. So who read that card and was angry? Right? They all say the same thing. They all say you're amazing. I handwrote every single one of those. Did not have my kids do it. I did it. But I did it because simple things like that can make your day a little bit better, right? And so if you do that for somebody else, that not only energizes them and makes them feel good, it makes you feel good too. And so what I want you to do with these cards is, in the next week, I want you to randomly give somebody, not in the program, but I want you to randomly give someone you interact with that card, because you're going to feel the day, I promise you. And so it's about bringing that energy and making people be in a positive mood and wanting to contribute to whatever it is you're doing. And this is something so small, but when you do something like that, it also gets people wanting to help you and do other things for you, and it builds relationships with people, right? And the relationships that you make with people either here or outside of the program, you don't know where they're going to go in the future. I got my MBA in 2003, so that was 16 years ago. I still talk with very often with some people in that program. We didn't communicate for a while, and then we got back in touch because we're doing some similar things. So you never know when you're going to reconnect with people, if you lose touch, but relationships will go in all kinds of different directions, so you want to make sure that you are leaving a good impression. I'll talk about brand here in just a second. and having relationships with people that really matter and stick. All right, I'm going to skip this real quickly because I want to get to the personal branding stuff. So one last thing here, another hashtag, vibrate higher. So no matter what happens, you always take the high road. And this goes to branding as well because it goes to for people's impression of you. So this is helpful for you personally. If you always take the high road and you vibrate higher and you focus on where you need to go no matter what happens, you will be at a competitive advantage over someone that doesn't because there are so many distractions out there, right? From our smartphones, there's all kinds of apps and social media and everything else going on and people competing for our time. If you can stay focused by having that positive energy, then you're going to get farther along with other people and you're going to leave an impression on other people, which is going to impact your personal brand, which I'm going to talk about right now. So I talk about this concept in my book called Playing Like a Free Agent. If you're a free agent, what is your big focus?
Money.
Getting money, that's right, getting a contract, right? You want to get hired so you can get paid, right? So you all want to have that free agent mentality. Whether you like your job or not, and you're planning on staying in your job when you're done, you still want to have this mentality, and I'll go through why. So it doesn't just apply if you're a job seeker. All right, so I'm sure all of you are familiar with the importance of having a personal brand. Anyone not familiar with that? Right. Having a personal brand is important because it's just as strong as a corporate brand. It's what people think of you. All of you in here have an impression of every single other person, whether you know them or not, because you've been sitting here since this morning, right? It may not be an accurate impression of them, doesn't matter. That is your impression of them, and you have a thought on their brand as of right now, right? Everyone is always watching you and well, they're not like stalking you, but like people observe, people see you in situations, even the people that you don't frequently interact with, right? So let's say you two gentlemen, you never work together the entire program, right? But you see each other and you talk, and then at the end, you know each other's name, and then at the end of the program, you go work for a company, and he's looking, what's your name?
Trevor.
Trevor is looking for a job at your company. Someone says, hey, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris. Hey, Chris, I just got a resume from Trevor. He was in the MBV program. What do you think of him? If you have never interacted with him, you don't necessarily have something positive, maybe not negative, but it's just like, oh, well, we're in the program, but I really didn't know him. I guess he's okay, right? Like there's nothing there that can advocate for him. So keep in mind that no matter who you interact with, they have an impression, whether it's on a frequent basis or an infrequent basis. So you want to make sure that you're managing your brand and mindful that people are always observing you and therefore, what do they think of you? So that can be helpful to you or it can be hurtful. So just be mindful of that. So in here, in the worksheets, you have this thing called a career map. I'm going to send Matt and James an electronic version of it so you can actually use the slide and populate it. But it's one that can kind of help you figure out where